honor to meet you, Matthew Patrick.
And I'm Bill.
So obviously we're sitting with Mr. Miyamoto, needs no introduction. So thank you so much for having me here today to show off the new Star Fox. So I just got to play some of the new Star Fox, which is really exciting. One of the things that I'm really interested to hear your input on is, were there things that you wanted to make sure that you kept in the Star Fox tradition as you're thinking about the new game? Were there things that you were looking to kind of like change or update with the new technology? Some of those considerations.
So we actually, when we started, we weren't planning on making a Star Fox game. At the time, we were doing a lot of different experiments with two-screen gameplay using the gamepad.
Right, okay.
And one of the things that we were experimenting with was controlling sort of like a radio-controlled airplane.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so the airplane would be flying on the TV screen and you'd be controlling it with the gamepad.
Right.
And then we thought if you put a camera on the radio-controlled airplane so that you can see the view from the airplane, it would be pretty fun. And as we were experimenting with that, then we thought, oh, this actually might be pretty good for a Star Fox game.
That's perfect. Oh, wow. So what challenges come with creating a game like with asynchronous gameplay, where the gamepad shows one thing and the TV showing something else?
Well, it's interesting because when we first started with the game, when we created Star Fox on the N64, I really felt that we had sort of perfected the Star Fox gameplay with the N64 version. And this time, once we had this idea for the new gameplay system, we decided to apply that to the Star Fox gameplay. And because we had this new style of play, we thought we could leverage that to sort of reimagine what that Star Fox gameplay would be. But rather than do it from the perspective of creating a new sequel, we sort of wanted to reimagine the Star Fox universe and the Star Fox story. And as we continued working on the game, what we realized was that people who were fans of the older games, they would then play the game, but then they might feel like, oh, well, but what's changed or what's new, and I'm not sure I'm following the story type of an approach. Partly we've made some changes to the game, and of course now we're showing the game to everyone so that they can experience it and react to it. But that's sort of the approach that we've taken, was really trying to sort of reinvent the Star Fox gameplay. But what we've gotten as an end result is that we have this new style of play where, because we've separated the flight controls from the aiming, it really gives you an opportunity to experience what makes piloting a battleship or a fighter jet really cool. And you have this ability to, you can look at one screen and aim that way, or you can look up here and control it sort of like a radio-controlled airplane. And you have this ability to really play the game the way that you want to. And it makes for a very refreshing experience and something that feels new.
And I'm assuming that's exciting for you as a game designer who has crossed over so many genres and so many kind of like different eras in the technology. Does playing around with some of the asynchronous gameplay and stuff just continue to inspire you? Is it still exciting after doing it for this many years and shaping so many eras of gaming?
Well, yeah, for me it's always exciting. Really, even going back to the start of the 8-bit days, with each generation, every time we introduce some new type of technology, to me that's a new opportunity to do something creative in the games. Thinking back to the early days, back then we never would have thought of technology that allows us to have something like the Street Pass exchange between two 3DS systems, or in this case with Star Fox for Wii U. Because the screen has gotten smaller and you now have it right in front of your hands, that allows us to have this new perspective, a new approach to gameplay that adds a new layer to what we've done in the past. But of course in the past, when we were first making video games, there was sort of an older generation of people for whom this digital medium was hard for them to understand. But now we're at a point where most people have grown up on video games, and so they're able to quickly pick it up and play it and experience the gameplay and come along with us as we introduce these new styles of play.
That's true. And actually, I wasn't able to bring it here, but I had a picture of me at 4 years old, because I was born in 1986. And so I grew up, I grew up with Mario, and so my first childhood memory is actually of playing NES. And it was at my 4th birthday party, and I had a Mario cake, and I was, sentimental showing off. But it's such an honor to be sitting with someone who has done so much to shape my life, and now today to be, you know, doing this as a job is just incredible. So I owe you so much thanks, and it's incredible to thank you in person for that. So just so you know.
うちの息子とほとんど同じです。
You're about the same age as my son.
So he grew up with video games too. Very much so. So I know that the original idea for Star Fox was you were inspired by a Fushimi Inari shrine. Can you, which is very famous for its torii gates. Can you take me through a little bit about how you went from, you know, shrine with gates to fighting foxes in outer space?
あのね、
Well, it's actually, I think the story maybe has become a little bit flipped. But what's interesting is the conversation originally was centered around the characters, and we were working on the game and trying to decide what kind of characters do we want to have in the game. And we got to a point where we said, oh, should we have human characters or should we have animal characters? And we decided to go with the animal characters and decided on making it a fox. And then when we decided on making the character a fox, we realized, oh, it was almost, you know, because the Fushimi Inari Shrine was right near Nintendo and near where I live.
Right.
And it was almost like I had been inspired by the shrine to make the character a fox, and
so
then
funny, yeah.
we designed the game that way because of the inspiration that we got from the shrine.
Right. Okay.
そしてね、伏見稲荷っていうのがある。
And also the deity at the Fushimi Inari Shrine is sort of a deity of good fortune or good business. And so we thought, oh, maybe if we, you know, we make a fox, the game will do well.
And clearly it was. So that was a good choice.
もう一回拝みに行ってこれ。
So I have to go say thank you to you.
And you brought up about being animal characters or human characters. So my channel is all about applying science and math and logically analyzing like these game design decisions. And one of the questions that people ask me to look into is, why does Star Fox have metal legs? And the rumor has always been he has metal legs because of the blood rushing to his legs because of the maneuvers that you're doing. I came to a different conclusion based on the math around it. I'm curious, what is your interpretation? Was there any reasoning behind it, or just a cool design?
これね、最近言われるようになって。
So I've actually been asked this question before a fair bit recently, but it's funny because when we were first working on the game, really all we were looking at was really how do we take these animal characters and make them seem more human.
Right.
And so in doing that, we just gave them, you know, we designed them in a way that would make them feel sort of the most human. And at the time, we actually didn't know anything about the problems that pilots can have with blood clots.
だからどっちかっていうとこうね、座席のシートの中で尻尾はどうなってるんだろうとかいろんなこと思ってる。
The thing that I always worry about more than his legs is what's happening with his tail when he's sitting in the
That's the question that everyone needs to be asking themselves.
解明してほしい。
I guess it's tucked away in his That's a good point. Oh, that's really funny. But that does bear a question. As you create these video game scenarios, how much real-world research or scientific research are you putting into, you know, coming up with the different turns and roles and maneuvers? You know, obviously Star Fox is very heavily related to aerial dogfighting. So, you know, in the game design process, how big does that play a role in things?
So certainly when we're working on games, we do research into the physics of objects. Particularly, you know, we'll do this when we're working on sort of a driving game, and the friction that comes into play when the car is turning and things like that.
Yeah.
But one of the challenges is that if you try to replicate the actual physics of these types of maneuvers too realistically, then what it does is it actually makes playing the game much more difficult, and makes it harder to have fun with.
だから遊び
So yeah, in particular with something like flying, you know, while we've maybe done some research, we haven't applied it all because the thing about creating play or something that's a fun experience is you want it to look real, but feel fun.
Right.
And so if we use the actual physics of pitches and rolls and things
Right.
like that, you'd have to learn how to fly to be able to fly.
I've talked with experts, and I'm told that it's called an aileron roll. Was that just like, hey, aileron is a weird word? Was it a translation thing? Because barrel roll is obviously a catchier term, more fun to say. But I am curious, you know, was that a conscious decision?
僕らねほとんどNOA にある
So yeah, we rely pretty heavily on the localization team at NOA for the translation. When we were originally working on the game in Japanese, we just called it rolling. So it's just sort of rolling around an axis. But when they translated that into barrel roll, it reminded me of Donkey Kong, and so I approved the term, and not really knowing how well it would be accepted in the English-speaking world. But people seem to like it.
Oh, obviously, I mean, now there's the Google. If you type in barrel roll, the whole screen rotates. So it's
そうい
just
ったものをビルにメールしてどうしてバレルロールって言うとあんなに受けるのっていうことを質問したの
Yeah, just the other day I emailed Bill and asked him, why do people love do a barrel roll so much?
It's so catchy to say. Yeah. It's a lot better than doing aileron roll. I will say that, not the strongest. Well, thank you again so much for not just today, but for literally 27, 28 years of my life, you know, being such a huge influence. So, and I'm sure everyone, you know, who's watching as well, like, expresses the same thing. You've changed so many lives. So, thank you for this. Thank you for Star Fox. I can't wait to play around with it. Awesome, and thank you, sir, as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you for translating, and I have no good sign off at this point.